Greetings. From the mind of a 26-year-old comes a sequel to the prolific gem, the Diabolical Rings. Chapter 1. Galeen. The lands were cooling off. It was the 10th day of first autumn, and the extreme heat of last summer had begun to move on. Southwest of Galicia was a land called Alumate. Alumate was semi-protected from the freezing winds of Galicia by a tall mountain range to its northeast. But Galicia still affected Alumate to an extent. It is the land of Alumate which Zaldar traveled to. After a very long time, he had finally procured the malefic gem. The gem had augmented his demonic powers and made him stronger, faster, and also had increased his energy. Now, he traveled to Alumate to visit his old friend. This old friend had been his father's ally. He had forged his father's mighty demon sword, and had also created Zaldar's sword, Valkior. When Zaldar's father was killed by the other alpha demon, he and his mother were left alone. But they had to help his father's friends to help him stay safe, and to teach him to master his inherited powers. Zaldar drew closer to Alumate. He should arrive there soon. That night, he set up camp, ate some of his provisions for dinner, and then turned in. The next morning, Zaldar packed up camp and walked the final miles to Alumate. It was the 11th day of first autumn, and the trees had begun to change from green to yellow, brown, and bright red. The air smelled cool and a little moist. He reached Alumate by late morning and entered it through its southeastern borders. Alumate had a very interesting terrain. Around its borders, the land was alive with fruit trees, bushes, small ponds, and streams. However, at its heart, it had dusty soil and no water, except for what was in the swordsmith's residence. The demon swordsmith lived in the very center of the land, in a small rock cave. It had enough room for his bed, grindstone, and workbench. It also had a storing nook, which he kept his food and water in. Zaldar walked northwest towards his ally's home. He reached it by noon. The cave was small, a round cavern made out of black rock. However, the entrance was large, and its body was decently long. He peered into the cave and discerned the shapes of the grindstone, workbench, and the demon's bed at the back of the cave. "Hello, Galeen, are you home?" he called. He waited. Several seconds later, he saw movement. Galeen was still in bed, but he had woken up when Zaldar called his name. He got out of bed, stretched and yawned, and made his way to the entrance. "Why, Zaldar, it's you. How quaint," he said. He was shorter than Zaldar, barely over 5 feet. His skin was fair and wrinkled, and his mustache and beard were as white as snow. "It's good to see you too, old friend," Zaldar replied. "Come on in, my lad. Tell me, are the rumors true? Did you find the old gem of the Cambion?" Galeen asked. Zaldar stepped into the cave. Galeen led him to the back of his home and drew up 2 chairs for them to sit in. Zaldar sat down and reached into his overcoat's inner pocket. He took out the malefic gem. Since it was still in his possession, it shone bright green, and the demonic energy poured out of it and into him. "Oh, now that's a beauty," Galeen commented. He examined the gem with his eyes and smiled. "You have been busy these past few months, young one. The murmurs across these lands have been incredible. First, I heard that you went to the Dark Lord's temple. Then, I was told that you went to Zulu, killed that old arachnid, and went to the land of fire, he explained. "All true," Zaldar responded. Galeen laughed. "Oh, if only your father could have been here to hear about all of this. You have been very proud of you, he said. Zaldar looked down and frowned. Galeen saw this. Zaldar, I know that still hurts to talk about your father, but I speak the truth. You have been very happy that you proved your strength against full-fledged demons. Yeah, well, I'll never get to know for sure, thanks to that other demon, Zaldar answered bitterly. Galeen looked at him sternly. Zaldar, I've told you many times by now, until you're at least as strong as your father was, you do not stand a chance against that demon, he chided. Zaldar sighed. Now, I assume you came here for a reason, Galeen observed. Zaldar nodded and drew Valkyr from its sheath. Galeen looked at the blade with pride. Ah, reasonably sharpened, I see. But you of course lack the required things needed to polish it. I'd be happy to assist you, he said. Zaldar handed to him Rip first. The demon sword didn't seem to mind. On the contrary, it was glad to be handled by its creator again. It made its aura surge along its blade. There, I missed you too, old friend. He took Valkyr further into the cave, past the workbench and grindstone, into the part of the cave next to his bed. He got out a bottle, which was filled with black liquid, and a cloth that was made out of a combination of golden silk and sky blue fabric. He wetted the cloth and set to work polishing Valkyr's blade. The entire process took less than 10 minutes with his expertise. By the time that he was done, Valkyr's blade showed his and Zaldar's reflections, and its aura flowed smoothly along the blade. Thanks again, Galeen, Zaldar said gratefully. He drew back his sword, admired its blade for a few seconds, and sheathed it. Tell me, Zaldar, now that you have the Malefic Gem, what will you set your sights on next? Galeen asked. Zaldar thought about that. To be honest, I'm not that sure. I've been concentrating on the Malefic Gem for a while, and haven't given it that much thought, he responded. Galeen chuckled. Zaldar, there are other demonic artifacts which will be of benefit to you, he said. Such as the Diabolical rings, Galeen explained. Zaldar looked at him, surprised. Diabolical rings? Come now, Zaldar. You mean to tell me that you haven't even heard of the rings? Galeen asked. Zaldar shook his head. Well, allow me to enlighten you. The Diabolical rings are 6 rings which have vast demonic powers imbued in them. They were created centuries ago, long before the Malefic Gem was even thought of. 6 alpha demons used their knowledge of the demon race and powerful dark magic to create these 6 rings. They desired to have certain advantages in whatever fight or duel that they had with other demons, as well as priests and priestesses, Galeen explained. He paused for breath. Zaldar sat there and waited for him to continue. The 6 demons worked tirelessly to create these rings. After a century of trying, they succeeded. Each of the demons was given 1 ring, no more or less. But that was enough to make them an unbeatable team. They waged war against countless priests, priestesses, and lesser demons to cement their reign on many different lands. But after 2 decades of warfare, the gods and goddesses could no longer stand the bloodshed. And so, the king of the gods ordered his hierarchy to intervene. Galeen finished. I was wondering when they would put their nose into this, Zaldar muttered. The gods of fire and air, and the goddesses of seas and earth, obeyed their king. They hunted down all 6 of the alpha demons, and stripped them of their rings, Galeen concluded. Zaldar grimaced. If the king of the gods had ordered the rings to be hid, then they would not be easily found. What did these rings do? What powers do they have? He asked. Each of the 6 rings has its own ability. The ring's strength increases a demon's physical power 100 times its normal amount. The ring of agility amplifies the demon's speed, agility, and reflexes 100 times their normal capacity. The ring of senses enhances the demon's sight, smell, and hearing 50 times their normal capacity. The ring of flight grants a demon an unlimited amount of energy for flight. The ring of energy augments a demon's energy 10 times its usual amount. And finally, the ring of invulnerability. It uses a combination of its own power and the demon's aura to protect a virtually impenetrable barrier around its wearer. Galeen finished reverently. Zaldar sat there awestruck. He had never heard of such powerful demonic artifacts before. Do you know where the gods and goddesses hid these rings? He asked. Galeen chuckled. I know what one of them is. Centuries of wisdom have its perks. This one is the ring of strength, he replied. Zaldar waited for him to continue. Now, as you may have guessed, each of these rings has its own unique design. The ring of strength has a smooth iron band and has one small onyx stone embedded in it, he explained. Okay, where is it hidden? Zaldar asked. Luckily, I happen to have a map to its location. Wait one moment, please, Galeen replied. He walked over to his bed, lifted the pillow, and took out a rolled up piece of parchment from it. He gave the parchment to Zaldar. Thank you, Galeen. You always help me with anything that I'm doing, Zaldar said appreciatively. Think nothing of it, Zaldar. I still have potent memories of your father, who helped me with some bothersome demons. Plus, your mother was very sweet too, Galeen replied. Yeah, okay, Zaldar responded. He pocketed the piece of parchment and stood up. Before you go, Zaldar, I must warn you. As you are well aware, since the gods and goddesses were the ones who hid these rings, their protective enchantments will be formidable. Most likely, each trap will have to do with what the ring is known for. In this ring's case, it'll be a test of physical strength, Galeen warned. Thanks for telling me that. I'll be sure to be on my guard. I'll see you later, Galeen. Goodbye for now. Goodbye, Zaldar. I said some inkling where another one of the rings are when you return, he stated. Zaldar exited the cave and left Alimate. Chapter 2. The Seer. Before Zaldar reached the land of Alimate, Alice, the alpha champion that he had fought over the Neolithic gem, woke up. She stirred and massaged the back of her head where he had struck it with Valkyr's pommel. As he got to her feet, she sheathed her own demon sword, Lodoria, and scanned the horizon. There wasn't a trace left of him, not even his scent. Damn, he got me again, she thought. She stopped rubbing the back of her head and thought things through. Zaldar had defeated her because he had the Neolithic gem. It had augmented his demonic abilities, so that they were above that of an ordinary champion. That meant that she would have to find a way to increase her own powers before she faced him again. Once she got her bearings, she headed towards the land where her source of information stayed. She traveled for more than a week, first going northeast, and then she turned directly east. She arrived at her destination, the land of Milair. It was further east than Zulu was, but not as north as Galicia. In truth, this land was not that different from Tanyar. Both were well advanced and had great rivers running through them, and both were ruled by a monarchy. But Milair's ruling monarch was a queen instead of a king, and the queen's firstborn daughter was next in line for the throne after the current queen passed away. This tradition was set up nearly 200 years ago, when the court witch Cassandra overthrew King Tyler III and usurped his throne. Ever since that uprising, Queen Cassandra's descendants have practiced magic to maintain their claim on the throne in Milair. The firstborn girl, not the boy, was trained in the magical arts, as well as how to rule a kingdom and defend it from invaders. Alice arrived in Milair on the 12th day of first autumn. She saw the queen's castle perched on the hill that overlooked her land. She went east to the outskirts of Milair. Past noon, she found the sorcerer's little hut. It was small, made of wood, and had 2 windows in the front. The door was round, had 1 doorknob, and the roof itself was made out of purple tiles. It also had a single brick chimney. As she walked up to the door, it opened before she could knock. Her source, the seer named Billith, stood in the doorway. She looked Alice up and down. "Well, I see that you failed, as I predicted," she said. Alice sighed. I know. You told me that I wouldn't succeed. Now, I need you to please help me to find another artifact," she replied as politely as she could. Billith eyed her for a couple of seconds. You have your mother's temper. Lucky for you, I like that about her. Enter, she responded. She turned around and walked into her little hut. Alice was right behind her. Billith's hut looked bigger inside than it did outside. The walls were lined with shelves and jars, which contained different ingredients. She had a fireplace in her hut, and a medium-sized black cauldron was positioned above the flames. She collected 4 jars from different shelves and measured the ingredients. When she had the correct amounts, she put them into the cauldron. "Spirits, hear my plea. I call upon you to guide my eye. Grant this old seer the sight." Billith chanted over the cauldron. The ingredients sent up a fragrance, and she inhaled the smoke. Alice stood behind her and observed the old witch's ritual. She had seen Billith do this many times, both as a young girl with her alpha demon mother, and as an adult woman. Billith's eyes rolled to the back of her head. For several moments she stood still. Then she lifted her left hand over the cauldron, and the fumes began to swirl. "The spirits have heard your plea, Alice, the Alpha Cambion. We know all, we see all." Billith spoke in a guttural tone. The hut's temperature seemed to drop several degrees, but Alice ignored it. "Yes, I know about your sight. Please, tell me what I need to know," she asked. Billith's left hand spun the fumes, and the image of a ring appeared over the cauldron. It appeared to be made of iron, with an onyx stone embedded in it. "What's that?" Alice asked eagerly. Billith turned around, her movement so fast that Alice couldn't keep up with it. Despite her eyes being rolled back, she stared into Alice's eyes. "That is one of the 6 rings. Centuries ago, a group of alpha demons forged them to augment their natural demonic powers. What you see is the ring of strength. It can greatly enhance your physical power." The spirit spoke through Billith. "Where can I find it?" Alice asked. The fumes swirled again and revealed the ring's hiding spot. She stared thoroughly and nodded. The fumes dissipated, and Billith returned to her natural state. Alice turned to leave, but Billith called her back. "A word of caution, young Alice. I predict that you will be successful this time, but it will not be by yourself," she foretold. "Not by myself? What does that mean?" Alice asked, perplexed. Billith grinned, which revealed her yellowish teeth. "You will have helped in obtaining the ring of strength, but you will face a formidable opponent before you reach your destiny," she predicted. "A formidable foe?" Alice replied. Billith nodded. "Who is it?" "She is an old and powerful priestess." "I should be able to handle her, no problem." "Alice, take this opponent seriously. Her old age only makes her an even deadlier adversary." "I'll keep that in mind. Now, I'll see you later, Billith," Alice told the old seer. She turned and walked out of the hut. Billith laughed to herself. She went back to the cauldron and watched as the remaining ingredients sent up one last plume of fragrance. This time, it took the form of a young Alpha Cambion, one with black hair, blue eyes, fair skin, and purple clothing. first two chapters of my book. If you're interested in reading the rest of the book, Amazon's Kindle, only $5.